This video was filmed in various parts of the Midwest. Noel Feather and Dan Fitzgerald team up together to successfully attract bucks, using their methods such as rattling, calling, and lures. Noel is noted for his ability to rattle and call in big bucks. Dan is noted for his ability to scout and seek out big bucks, as he is among the top guides in the country. Together, they make a hard team to beat. Many big bucks spend their entire life in these river bottoms.
Hello, I'm Noel Feather. I'd like for you to meet a good friend of mine, Dan Fitzgerald. Dan, like myself, is basically a bow hunter, as well as one of the best taxidermists in the country. Dan has won a lot of awards and got a lot of recognition for the different taxidermy things that he has done. I'd like to take a little time right now to tell you a little bit about this video that you're watching and what it's basically about, which is horn rattling. Horn rattling is my favorite way of hunting. Some of the best trophies I've taken has been with horn rattling. And we'd like to take you out and show you deer that is actually rattled in and harvested with the bow and arrow. And tell you a little bit about some of the things that makes horn rattling work. Like that adds a lot to it, so to speak, like grunt calls, the use of lures, and the different things that really adds to it. Horn rattling is not hard. Anybody can horn rattle if they just use a little common sense, a little good judgment, and take a pair of deer horns and try to make the exact sounds that bucks make when they fight. And if they do that, they can rattle deer to them. It's a little hard for a lot of people. I know a lot of people will tell me at the seminars that they've thought about it and they'd like to try it, but they're a little bit scared that they're going to make the wrong sound, that they're going to spook a deer. You're asking a guy to go into the woods and do something he's been taught all of his life by his dad or his granddaddy or whoever taught him to hunt. You know, the old theory is go in the woods and sit down and be quiet, and that's the way to kill a deer. Well, when some guy like me stands up and tells them, you know, take a pair of deer horns and go into the woods and start beating horns together and breaking brush and stomping the ground and making all these weird sounds, that you know, that's kind of hard for them to swallow. But actually, both is right. I mean, you can go in the woods and sit down and be quiet and kill a deer. We both know that. But you also can go out during the rut, which I should have mentioned. Horn rattling is really only effective during the rut time of year. But all of these things, they're different ways of hunting and they all work. But anybody that's ever wanted to horn rattle, they should give it a try because it does work. Is there anything that you would like to add to this, Dan, before we actually go out in the woods and try to rattle one in?
Well, I'll say this, that a lot of people that I talk to in my business, when you talk to them about horn rattling and grunt calling, they seem too afraid to try it the first time, and then when they do go out and try it the first time, they scare themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's so quiet and serene in the woods, usually in the woods where there's a lot of deer, that when they first strike those antlers together, they scare themselves. It makes so much noise. But they do not realize that what we can see from higher platforms when we're doing this camera work, when we can see with these big lenses, these deer at a distance, it's amazing the first reaction of a buck that's just even a bedded buck. When you clank those antlers together, I've seen bucks come right out of their beds and just jump right up and come right to attention and start coming right to those
many
antlers.
times, yes.
It's a person just has to get over that fear, you know, and get the faith. And I guess what, you know, the best way for a person to get over that fear is to get in the woods and try it. In fact, I think what we ought to do right now is just go to the woods and show the folks that are watching you rattling up a buck for me, and it was such a thrill for me that I just, you know, I love to watch it myself.
You know, I always tell everybody in the seminars that the first little old scroungy 6-pointer that they rattle in will actually do them more good than me standing up all day and telling them about how great it is. Because the first deer that they rattle in, they see it work. They know it works then, and so they'll go out there and they'll spend more time at it. Where the first time they go out, they're a little scared and they'll look around, you know, hoping that nobody's watching them, see, because you feel kind of dumb the first time you ever do it to go out there in the woods and start banging them horns together and all this good stuff. I know I've been horn rattling for 20 years and was probably one of the first people in Illinois to do any horn rattling. And I know I had those same feelings, and I know from talking to so many people at the shows that they have the same feelings that I did.
You know, it's amazing to me when I talk to people, you know, on a daily basis. They come in and tell me, well, I was sitting out there so quiet, and I heard all this clanking and banging and all this something grunting. It must have been a porcupine grunting or something. And I tell them, you know, you just blew a perfect opportunity. You had bucks fighting or sparring. You had bucks grunting, following does. You're telling me all you saw is does go by all day long, and you heard all this grunting that scared them all away, and you were sitting in the gold mine of the hunting.
You know, the big thing too is the grunt calls. Now they're just really coming in on their own. You know, the last couple of years you've been seeing a lot of them on the market and been hearing a lot about them. But before that, and you're going to hear a lot more in the future, because people are finding out that they do work, and there's going to be more people getting into it in the same way with the horn rattling. But I have so many guys that I'll demonstrate the call for them, and they'll say, well, I've heard that sound in the woods, but I thought it was a bunch of hogs. You know, it does sound, if you got a call that sounds like it should sound, it sounds just like a pig. And when I was designing my call, I kept telling the people that I was working with, I said, I want it to sound like a hog, because that's the way, when a buck makes that sound, that's exactly what it sounds like.
I'll tell you what, why don't we just take these folks into the woods and let them see what might appear to be ridiculous at first, but I think we can make believers out of them.
Let's go rattle one in.
Let's do it.
Here, Dan takes Noel to one of his hot spots where he has done extensive scouting.
This is where the bucks are at, buddy.
Man,
Boy, this is going to be a beautiful day, ain't it? Woo! Those bucks are bedded right in this swamp, right in here. This goes for about 5 miles all down through along the river. This is
a mean-looking country.
I'll tell you, them bucks are down in this swamp over here.
This is perfect stuff they like, though. The thicker, the better.
Yeah. Look how thick that is in there.
Man, that river bottom hunting, I don't care. Whatever state you're in, river bottom is always good.
There's a lot of bucks in there.
Let's get them both.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a good day, ain't it?
Looks real good.
Well, this run right down through here is the closest way to get to our stands. We're going to hunt those stands we set up last night.
Right. The way the wind is and everything, those should be as good as anything that we've got up. And
yeah, I think you should be able to rattle some bucks out of this. That river runs all the way along there. You know, it's got about 5 miles of swamp right through there.
Man, that's thick cover. If there ain't no bucks in there, there ain't no bucks no place.
Boy, this is beautiful. This snow,
It's cold. It's cold snap too. This temperature is dropping. You can tell it's colder than what it was earlier today. It's colder right now.
Well, let's get to our stands.
Since Dan wasn't sure if he got a hard shot or not, he felt it would be best to find a blood trail and wait a couple of hours before tracking his buck. Dan knows from experience it's better to wait than to push.
Well, let's go see. We went down in this stuff there. Yeah,
Got a high rack. That did clip his heart. Had to have the right angle. You wouldn't have got her. That's why you must have got some depth too. Yeah, that's.
took out part of his lung, or part of his heart rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The angle would have been what would make the difference there.
Yep. What do you think?
Nice buck.
See a keeper?
He's a keeper, man, I'll tell you that. He's definitely a keeper. What is he, 8? He's got a little bird. Wow, he's got one out there. He's got a little peak stroke off the tip.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pointer.
10 pointers is what we're after, ain't it?
You got that right.
Well, what do you think?
Well, I think you got yourself a good one. Congratulations, guy.
Well,
I think you better get your tag on this dude.
yeah. You give
Get him gutted out, because we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
By the time we get this deer out of here and get him back and get him dressed out, it's going to be supper time.
That's good.
Well, you've seen a little bit about what we were talking about. I would like to talk a little bit more about grunt calls and explain how they work and how they can really help you when, with horn rattling, how they tie in with horn rattling. And then we'll get back around to showing them another kill here after a bit. The grunt call, at times you wouldn't even need a pair of rattle horns. If a buck is close enough to hear this call, a lot of times you wouldn't have to use the horns. But the problem is, this is not a long-range tool. A buck is probably only going to hear this 100 yards, even on a still morning.
It depends
When there's
on
no
the
wind, and it's, say, a good, still, cold morning, you'll probably hear that 100 yards. It's not it's not a loud sound. But if you made it loud, you'd be defeating the purpose, because when a buck grunts, he doesn't make a loud sound. And as I said, if a buck would hear this, he wouldn't need the horns. What I like to do, especially early in the morning, if I go in, say 20, I like to be in my tree 20 minutes before it ever gets light. Well, when it's light enough that I can see, say 50 yards in every direction, then I like to take the grunt call and go through a series of grunts before I ever even pick up the rattle horns. Now, the reason I say that is, if you go in playing the wind, which you should go into your stand with the wind in your face, and you're trying to be super quiet. Okay, there's a good chance that you may be right on top of a buck and you don't even know it. So if you pick up a pair of rattle horns and you bang them together real hard like you normally do when you first start out rattling, okay, the first thing that buck's going to do is turn and look right towards that sound. Okay, maybe you don't see him. That buck may be within 40 or 50 yards of you. And if you don't see that buck, you're going to spook him. So I think it's just good insurance to take the grunt call, go through a series of grunts first before you ever pick up the horns. If a buck doesn't show, which he normally is going to show within probably 5 minutes, usually 2 to 3 minutes if he's that close, he's going to show, see, okay, there's you can probably kill the buck and never pick up the horns. But if he doesn't come in, you haven't lost anything, pick up your rattle horns and go through your rattling sequence. And then at the end of the rattling sequence, I like to throw in a few extra grunts. at the end of the rattling season. Or if you've rattled and you wait, say, maybe 5 to 10 minutes and you don't see a buck, then I think it's a good idea to take the grunt call and grunt a few times in case that there's a buck has come in, same old situation. The buck is standing there looking and he needs a little extra coaxing to bring him on in. But you maybe don't see him, which happens a lot of times. Okay? There again, where you can take the grunt call and give him a few grunts, and it's just an added little coaxer to tell that buck that the real thing is there. What he thinks is there, and a lot of times that'll pull him right on in.
Yeah. I think one important thing that you need to stress is, like you got the lanyard on your call there, a guy should always be conscious of the fact that he needs to be able to drop that and free his hands.
Yeah, that's true. I should show this. When I get done using the call, if you're a bow hunter, this thing can really goof you up.
Yeah.
Because if that gets caught in the bowstring, I mean, that's enough to, man, you know what that can do.
Yeah.
So when I get done with the call, I'll usually just stick the call down inside my shirt. It's there if you need it. It's easy to get out. All you got to do is get a hold of the lanyard, pull it back out. And another thing, you know, you're not always, the call is there, you're not so apt to lose it. So when you're done with the call, just drop it back inside your coat. And
You know, let me say something that I just thought about this the other day. If a person is not, doesn't have the faith in a grunt call or rattling horns, you know, he could wait till the last of the season. When the season is over, when all the hunting is, you know, it's not lawful to hunt anymore, and you know that you're not going to be under temptation to shoot the deer, that's a good time for a guy to go out and spend some time in the woods. And if he does screw up, it's not going to matter because he's not trying to kill that deer.
Yeah, right.
He can actually see the response of that deer. He could do that before the season starts, before the firearms season. Usually they're really in good rut. He could actually see the responses, and he doesn't have so much pressure on him that he's going to make a mistake and cause himself to not be able to get the kill on that deer. I think if you spend time before and after the season, when you know that it's not critical, you're going to be able to see what these deer are doing, and you're going to learn a lot from that.
Well, I think that you and I both know that it's like with anything, the more time that you spend in the woods, the better your chances. Not just, you don't have to be hunting all the time. Just being in the woods, you're going to be picking up a lot of things. You're going to see things. It's, you know, I learn something new every year. And I think almost anyone that does a lot of hunting, spends a lot of time in the woods, they're going to see things and pick up new things all the time.
You'll see deer do things that you never saw them do before.
Sure.
If you're consistently in the stand, you'll see them do things you haven't ever
That's
seen
what
before.
makes it. That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you going back.
That's the one thing I do like about the grunt call. You see that deer coming in, and you see his actual response to a sexually aroused situation where normally he wouldn't be aroused in a situation like that.
Well, the big thing with the grunt call is that so many times that you'll rattle a buck in with a pair of rattle horns, and the rattle horns are very important because you attract that deer at a long distance. On a good still cold morning, a buck will probably hear those rattle horns for close to half a mile. But a lot of times he'll come in to say 50 or 60 yards and he'll stop. And he needs a little more coaxing. He knows that he should see the fight at that time. And if he doesn't see a fight going on, he may just get a little spooky and turn and go the other direction. Where with the grunt call, you can work this thing without ever making a move hardly. And I'll just demonstrate. You just take the grunt call and you suck in on it lightly. And a lot of times that's all you'd need to do. That would be enough to really stir that buck up, to tell him that, man, the real thing is there. And he comes to this call for the same reason he comes to the rattle horn. He thinks that there's a doe close by and there's a buck. You know, there's a buck has usually got a doe with him when he's grunting like that, or he's trailing a hot doe. And that's how the grunt call works.
Boy, when I'm up in that stand, another good thing, if two guys are hunting buddies, they should go out together on scouting and get in their stands the way they're going to normally hunt and get to see the one guy can see the reaction of what the caller is getting the deer to do. Like when you're in your stand and doing those grunt calls, sometimes I can see that deer before you from where I'm located.
Many times you'll be able to see him before I will.
Oh yeah, and boy, it's amazing how you can get their attention and stimulate them.
Especially if I'm doing the calling and the rattling from the ground, and you're the hunter up in the tree. Which when I'm the hunter and when I'm hunting alone, I'm doing it all. I'm doing my own rattling and grunting and everything, and I'm up in the tree, and I can see a lot better. That's one of the reasons why that I like to hunt out of a tree. So much better than hunting on the ground. But in some of the footage that we did in this video where I was on the ground for reasons that I needed to be on the ground,
Yeah.
and the hunter's up in the tree. But
That was exciting.
well,
Two guys going out together like that, they get to you have a real advantage.
Yeah.
Because if the one guy that's doing the calling is past the stander, it's just like turkey hunting. That's the ideal situation for turkey hunting. That deer is concentrating on what's 50 yards ahead of that tree stand, and the guy that's on the stand, you know, he's got the deer off guard. Really.
elk hunting, same way. We work the same situation many times elk hunting, and we'll put the hunter out in front, you know, maybe 100 yards when you're elk hunting, and let the guy that's doing the bugling stay back, and that bull, he'll always come in, you know, fairly close and then stop. And a lot of times when he comes in and stops, he's within 20 yards of the hunter. So it works beautiful.
Why don't we go back in the woods and show some footage of you rattling your own deer up in this one sequence where all I could do was just sit there with.
Well, you was taking the pictures, but it'd be a situation where it'd be the same as if I was just out there hunting, you know, by yourself, which that's how most of your hunting is done, is by yourself.
Yeah.
So let's go to the woods and do it.
Let's do it.
The off-color footage is caused by the necessity to enhance the camera due to daybreak lighting.
completely through him, and he went right up over here. But
He jumped up out of the
He
creek?
went right up out of the creek. I seen the buck go down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he ain't gonna be no tracking on this dude. I seen him go down. But there is.
that arrow, man. Ooh, I love that.
Oh, I seen it. I seen the arrow go completely through him.
Let's go. This has got me
He
going.
went right up over this bank, and he's just right back in there. I don't think.
Oh, you saw him drop?
I seen him go down. I don't think he went 50 yards. Okay, now Dan, there's blood right here somewhere. We ain't gonna need it. I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
Here's blood right here.
Yeah.
It would look like he was running right up this run. Look at this leaf right here. There's blood all over this leaf. See it right here?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of blood. Man, that's what I call blood.
No, he's bleeding good. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right down through here.
Boy, look at that blood. A lot of blood.
Here's blood up here. There's
There
the
he
buck.
is. There he is.
There's the buck.
Hey, man.
Hey, all right.
Boy.
Hey, look at the blood here. Come on. Did a number. He didn't go very far. I told you.
Boy, we drained him up.
I told you I seen him go down.
Yeah.
Oh, it was perfect, man. I could see him real good. I could see that dude really good.
Man.
Look at that hole right there put in him.
Look at that shot.
See what I mean?
You put the swammies on that dude.
Yeah, look at the hole it put in that sucker.
Boy, he just gushed out of his mouth, didn't he? Get over here and hold your own deer, man. Give me that job.
Look at that hole there. Look at there.
Boy.
Boy, he's a pretty buck.
Boy, he'll go over 200.
He's a nice buck.
He's another good one. I'll tell you that much.
Well, you said yesterday, you know, maybe we could rattle you one in, or rattle me one in. And
Yes, sir.
I believe, by golly, I think I just about caught you.
Yeah. I would say this topped the one I got.
Well, I don't know if he topped him, but I believe he's got just about as much spread.
I'll tell you what.
Horns
these are
might
nice
be a little
bucks.
more massive.
This has been a pretty good week.
Yeah, I'd have to say that.
Well, now, are you going to be able to treat me like this when I come over to Illinois? No guarantees, huh?
I'll do my best. I'll tell you what. We got some back home that is every bit this good.
Oh, I know
we
you
got some big-
used to have one
we
that
got
was like this.
We got some big bucks, but we don't have the deer
Yeah.
like you've got here, you know. And it makes it tough. You know, you may go hunting there two or three days and maybe never see a deer.
Have you ever seen the deer activity that you've seen here?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there's a lot of deer moving in here.
I've seen as many deer this week here as I've seen any place. I've seen a lot of deer in Alabama when I was hunting down there a couple of weeks ago. You know, I seen deer,
Yeah.
but I couldn't say that I've seen more deer than I've seen here. Well, he's a dandy buck, ain't he?
Are you going to get this buck mounted?
Oh yeah, I think I will.
All right.
Yeah, I think I will. He's a nice buck, and when you rattle one in and you know, work him in like that, and you make it a nice kill on him, a good clean kill, you know, he deserves more than just put the horns on the wall, I think. The only
Yeah,
problem
he's a
is you run out of a place after a while. You run out of a place to put a head, you know.
He'll look good in your trophy.
Oh man,
he's a nice buck.
Yeah, he is.
I know there's a lot of guys that would love to get a hold of one like this. He's got about
Yeah,
a 26-inch neck. He is full rut. Boy, he
Yeah.
come right in on them horns and that grunt call.
Yeah, he did.
Boy, that was great.
Everything worked out just perfect. It couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did.
Well, I think we ought to
First
see if
thing,
we can get a stand up in another place. Here in Michigan, we can get another license.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could get out there and probably be turning cold now. We're going to have to earn and
well, a
we're
little
gonna have to earn
cold
'em.
snap will even probably turn them on even more, you know, as
Yeah.
far as the grunt calls and the horns and everything.
Yeah.
First thing we better do right now is get a tag on this dude.
the tag
and
on
get
him.
gutted, because there's some good eating right there.
Oh, hey, let's get. Why don't we just talk a little bit about the scent?
Well, I wanted to explain a little bit about the lure, and this is pure doe estrus urine here, and Dan and I both are in the lure business. We don't either one claim to have the best lure on the market. Neither one of us believes in adding anything to the lure, and as long as you don't mix anything with it, one is as good as another. I don't make it, you don't make it. The deer makes it. And that's what I always tell everybody in my seminars. I'll say, I don't claim
Don't
to
get
have.
any better.
I always say I don't claim to have the best lure on the market, but I'll add this by saying there ain't nobody got any better. And I'm not going to fight with you about that. But it's really true. As long as you're using the real thing, you're using doe estrus urine taken from a doe when she's in heat. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best you can get. I mean, how can you improve on the real thing?
You can't.
Now, the way I use the lure with horn rattling is I take these little 35 millimeter film canisters and I stuff those with cotton, and then I saturate the cotton with the lure. And I'll take usually 2 to 3, 2's enough, take and pop the lid on them, lift the cotton up where it sticks up about an inch or so above the canister, and you're using it like a wick. And I'll place either 2 or 3 of those around my stand, right where I want that deer to stop. Matt, that's very important, to place the lure in a place where you can shoot to the deer.
Right.
Because it doesn't do you good to rattle a buck in if he comes in someplace and you can't hit him.
Right.
And a lot of times, a buck will walk in and stick his nose right in that canister.
Yep.
So it's very important to place that canister in a little clearing. It don't matter if it's more than 3 or 4 foot in diameter, where you can shoot to that canister in case that buck walks up and sticks his nose right in it.
Right.
And that's how I use the lure. Now, I think you put the lure in the scrape and use it more for laying trails.
Well, I like to make a mock scrape, just like you're saying, within a good shooting distance,
Yeah.
20 yards, 25 yards, whatever you're comfortable with. I like to make a mock scrape or a few mock scrapes around so you have different advantages. I put it on my shoes, lay out a scent trail, put it around my stand. I use it liberally.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to use it because I believe in it. And that's the main thing. You got to believe in what you're doing.
Let's go back to the woods and show that 4-pointer that you killed, and show them how you use the lure in a scrape, in a mock scrape, right where we're setting up to do our rattle.
Okay.
Here, Dan opens a mock scrape and applies his buck lure. Dan was surprised the arrow did not pass through the deer. Upon later examining the buck, he found the arrow had broken the shoulder on the opposite side.
What'd you think of that dude, Jack?
I'll tell you what, that's a blood trail, ain't it?
Hey,
Right. Oh.
he didn't know what to do about the call, did he?
Hey, I'll
He
tell you
had him
what.
confused. We had him running all around.
See, that's cool. When people don't believe them little bucks that come to them calls and lures.
Oh, they'll come just like the big ones.
Sure, he was in
You
rough,
bet.
man.
He'll be a little more spooky and a little more cautious, but he'll come to them. Don't worry about that.
But he's dead, ain't no doubt.
You got blood everywhere.
5 foot blood trail, 5 foot wide. Look at all that blood up on the screen, man.
We shouldn't have to follow him too far.
He's no problem.
Let's do it. It's getting late. We're gonna run out of light.
5 feet wide. Ain't no problem tracking this dude.
Man, looky here.
Blood trail.
Somebody took a paintbrush and cleaned the long hair. I guess. He can't go much farther, I'll guarantee that. There he is there.
Yep, there he is.
Nice fat little buck, Jack. He's a good one.
Boy, he'll be some good camp meat.
You better believe it. Man, look, he must have come out right behind. You must have came right through the heart, Dan. Now, did you shoot him on the right side?
Yeah, he was facing the
So
right-hand side.
This is
the exit.
Exit hole there.
Look at that. Yeah. Hey.
There's the tip of your broadhead right there.
Yeah, the broadhead's still in him.
The arrow's still
Just a
in it.
minute. Just a minute.
You want to see where it went in?
Yeah, let's see what. Hey, the arrow's still in him. Look at that.
Look at that hole. That's why I like big broadhead.
Look at that hole, man.
That's right where she's supposed to be, behind that front leg.
Get tight on that hole so I
Ain't
can
good
see
for
that. Look at that hole.
See, crazy.
Ooh. Look at this. 4-inch hole.
People thinks a bow and arrow won't kill a deer or any other animal.
Yeah,
If you put it in the right place, they'll go down just as quick as if you shot them with a gun.
That is incredible how I blew that
That's-
hole that big.
That's the thing with a bow and arrow, is putting them in the right place.
Yeah, I'll tell
Wait
you
till
what.
you get the good shot. That's. See what I was telling you about earlier about a little buck coming to a pair of horns or a grunt call. And I don't say little buck trying to put down Dan's Dan's last
Don't be saying
kill.
nothing about my little buck.
But a small buck will come to a pair of rattle horns, or he'll come to a grunt call just the same as a big buck. He may come in a little more cautious because he's afraid of getting his butt kicked, but he can't resist the urge to come in. And that's the way she works.
A lot of times he might be the only buck within miles of that woods, though, and he is the dominant buck of that woods.
That could be.
And you might be able to call him right up quick.
That could be. Sometimes it would work that way. One of the other things that I would like to talk about a little bit is human scent or body odor control. I think that most hunters probably don't pay enough attention to the human scent thing. The one thing that any big game animal will not tolerate is human scent. I don't care what it is, what you're hunting. If he gets a nose full of man, it's usually over before you get started. So if I could only have one thing of all the products that I sell, I suppose I would probably pick human scent cover, something to cover human odor, because that is the one thing that you have to worry about constantly. And keeping your clothes clean, keeping your body clean, taking a shower every day, these are all, I think, very important. And as I said, a lot of people probably disagree, don't pay that much attention to it. But keeping your clothes clean, washing them in baking soda or something that doesn't have a perfumey smell, I think this helps. Keeping your clothes away from the house, like store them in the vehicle that you're going to use to hunt out of. I think that really helps a lot. If you keep them in the house, they're going to be picking up cooking smells, tobacco smells. If someone smokes in the house, I know you're deaf on cigarettes and you smoke, but these are all things that I think are very important. and will definitely help take a white-tailed deer. It's another one of these little pluses that I'm always talking about that helps you when you're horn rattling. All of the things I refer to as pluses, and the body odor control is, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the biggest. And I usually, the way I use my human scent cover, I use it on a pair of foot pads. I'll squirt a few drops on, like when I'm leaving the vehicle, walking into the stand, and this is normally, or you can put it along the edge of your boots. It stinks bad, and so I think foot pads is better, because when you get back to the vehicle, you can pull them off. I usually take them off, drop them in a glass fruit jar, and seal it up. So that's pretty much how I use it. Another thing I want to do, I don't know if you've even before knew about this, but we're coming out with a package this coming fall on all the different products, and I'm going to have the lure, a grunt call, a pair of my new synthetic rattle horns, and a cassette tape that teaches how to horn rattle. Of course, I've had this out for quite a while. But we're coming out with a package deal on all of this, and it's going to be called Noel's Bag of Tricks.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And so if there's any tricks, well, we're going to put them all in a bag and we're going to sell them.
Yeah.
We hope. So anyway, that's something that I'm going to have new on the market this year.
Well, we've seen them all work.
So
I'll tell you what. I think what we ought to do right now is go into the woods, and I believe that we're getting ready to see the most extraordinary kill that I have ever seen, ever viewed, or probably will ever have the opportunity to film. I think this kill is going to be the most extraordinary thing that I've ever seen. I think it's time we go see that.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
That creek that he jumped into, right down in here, is where that creek, where he was at, empties into this river. This river right here, see? And if we can get back on this, we can find a place to cross that creek.
Yeah.
We could go back up to that foot log that went across there, you know where my stand was at?
Yep.
That one time. But it's quite a walk up there. And if we can find a place where we can cross down here, save us some walk, and get back over in there. And
Boy, that looks thick.
and I've got stands already up over there, so we won't have to worry about putting stands up.
Okay.
That'd be,
How long has this cornfield been cut?
oh, I'd say probably 2 weeks. They had a good fall. They got this one out early. But there's plenty of feed. There's bean patches over on the other side. This where I'm talking about bedding area.
Yeah.
And it's just a good spot for horn rattling. But you know they're always in thick stuff, and you ain't gonna get any thicker than down in like this. This is a good thing.
Well, I say let's find a spot to get over there and get over there.
Well, let's go down here and see if we can cross without having to walk all the way back around.
Okay.
Just gotta follow the edge of the corner. All right. Stay right along the edge of this corner and swim off. Look beside that track right there.
Yeah, I want to see the buck mate. You gonna bring him in for me?
Hey man, did you see that?
Did you do the job on that, dude? From where I was, man, I could see that arrow go right through that deer and blood all over that.
He just literally flew across that creek. I hope you got that on
Oh,
film.
I saw him jump right in that water, splashing
It
everywhere.
looked to me like the arrow went right through him.
Oh,
I
it
couldn't
did.
tell.
I saw the arrow go right through him.
He come in and he was hooking on them vines over there.
saw
I
it.
couldn't see it. I couldn't get a clear shot till he turned to go the other direction. It
Man,
couldn't have been more perfect.
I'm so excited.
I want to see if I can find my arrow.
I can't. Right there he is.
There he is. Whew. You know, I was hoping that we could get over here. I wanted to show you that blood and water. I hope you see
Oh,
it.
I saw that
If
blood.
that got on camera, you know,
I
that's
saw
really-
that blood in the
I
water.
couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Man, that
That's,
deer just, he decided to jump that creek and that's where he died.
See that blood running down the water there? Well, I tell you what, that was awesome.
Man, he's a nice buck.
He's a nice one, man.
Yeah, good.
Put that head up there. After he got tangled up in that, he couldn't get up out of the creek. Hey, hon, these river bottoms is good buck country.
You ain't kidding.
Man.
Nice man. Good. Hey, perfect day. Perfect day. Yeah,
Man,
man.
it's a nice one.
He's a good one.
Boy, we're going to This was out of sight. I mean, I was entertained. This is great, man.